you're Mako-chan?
And I'm
You're DJ Rana?
Yes.
Nice to meet you
It's a
both.
pleasure. Ari couldn't make it due to work, but he's going to try to make it later one way or another. Pretty much it's just podcasting 101 where I'll tell you how easy it is to get started and some of the crazy stories I've come across getting this done and some of the mishaps along the way.
Okay, and I'll tell you why I'm here. Okay. I do a radio show.
Yeah.
Like actual radio, and you pay for time. And I'm thinking of switching over for comedians. We have a bunch of comedians doing a radio show, tell jokes, that kind. And this is the new thing. Is you? Now I turn it on. And then you can do that.
So what is podcast? Podcasting is digital media consisting of an episodic series of audio and video files. Subscribe to and download through a web syndicated or streamed online to a computer or mobile devices. The word is a neologism or quote derived from the words broadcast and pod, with successive iPod, as audio podcasts are often listened to on pro media player. As per what Wikipedia says, pretty much podcasting is just a series of audio or video files that you download through iTunes or any other audio management service that you listen to on a daily, weekly, bi-weekly, or even monthly basis. And this is a big thing. This is what people want to do because it's a lot easier to get the word out and tell people what you think, and it's easier to get your own show started. So, how do you podcast? There are various ways of doing it. This is going to be pretty much the most simplest, easiest way to get started, and then from there you can just build off of that. Now, what I do, I run the podcasting from my studio, which is my computer at home. Mako and Ari come in via Skype. So as we do our shows, we've gone through different various headsets and equipment to kind of get the audio quality at the level that works for everybody else.
So you experiment with the different.
Yes.
I mean, you come in through Skype.
Mm-hmm.
Is it a podcast?
Yeah.
So what was that?
This is a very simple stereo headset, $6 from New York, and it works. If you're hosting a podcast, it's best to have a headset like that. Now, if other people are coming in via Skype, it's okay for them to have something like a USB headset.
Okay.
Now, the reason why I say that, if you're hosting a podcast and you're on a USB headset, it's a different way it manages audio. So your other software, your other programs, what will happen is it'll hear you talking, but it won't hear anybody else on Skype. Some people who use USB headsets and equipment on Skype have like a third-party program that records it and then dumps it into your audio editing. And that's like more time for editing and getting it together. I like to keep it clean and simple and straightforward. Now, most computers nowadays, you may not even need this unless your computer's a little bit older. Basic sound cards have what's called stereo mix, or what you hear. That pretty much means is any chatter that's going through whatever the device is, it'll hear it, and it'll be picked up. Now, on today's desktop computers, it can do it, but it may not have that ability set up. So you have to go into your Windows settings and do this right here. You just go in, show disable devices, and enable. Most desktops will have what's called Realtek, which is the onboard audio. You enable it, and you're all set. Now, if you don't want to go through all of that and it's too much of a hassle, you can go with this here, an external USB sound card. It'll do all of that. It just plugs it through USB. Plus, if you have a laptop, if you want to use that instead of podcasting, you can.
Yeah, this is $18.99.
Yes.
And I have a question. I'm sorry, if I'm interrupted that in there, if other people come, I'll shut up. But I'm trying to do all this right. This $18.99 now, is there any kind of like monthly fee for this?
Nope.
You just pay the money and that's what you're going to go. Okay.
And And what I noticed about this one is that on the other side of this device, 2 microphone inputs.
Oh, okay.
So that's definitely a good thing. This was highly recommended to do karaoke, and in that case, perfect for podcasting. Now, if you want to kind of fancy things up, if you want a better control over your audio or your inputs, you can always go with a USB mix board.
Whoa. Okay.
This was the first mix board that I started on to get the podcast going. It's very easy to plug in your headset here. Skype, you go into Skype, you tell it to manage the USB in and out. Everybody calls in, it gets picked up, and the software will record everything.
Yeah. So they can call in too?
Yes, you can call in, but in order to do that, you would need a separate computer. Now, what I do is for my podcast, I have music in the background, so I would hook up another sound card and have Winamp go through that, and I would run it through one of these inputs here. But I noticed I need a little bit more control, a little bit more expansion, and sometimes Mako comes over and hangs out, so I need to open it up a little bit more. So
Okay.
I went ahead and got this, the 502 mixer. I should have gone with the 802, but it's okay.
Now, what did you do with your?
The old one,
Yeah.
I sold it.
Well, when you upgrade from here, you call me.
Will do. My friend Travis, who does this show for Understation Live, he has a 15, 16 quart one that's going
Really?
way across. He's been doing this for about 10, 15 years. Come on in, have a seat. He's been doing this for All right. He's been doing this for about 10 to 15 years, so he was my go-to guy learning about podcasting. I like to call him the pod father.
Yeah. Come on in, I'm learning something.
Hey, like I said, this is the same setup. What's positive about this, I have better microphone controls here.
Mm-hmm.
And I have dual inputs. Like I have this here for my secondary sound card. And I have this for my other computer running Skype.
So you
So,
can follow all in right through here. Okay?
so like I said, my main computer has my personal Skype with everybody on for the show. This here has my laptop plugged into Skype as my outside line so people want to pull next to the show. This is pretty much my podcasting setup.
Okay.
This is my mix amp. This is which controls the audio. What's cool is that if I need background music, I can just rotate the knob to keep a little volume control. Here is my microphone headset. The first setup here is the mixer going in, and this setup here is going to to my other laptop.
Okay. So that is that $59 thing I was just looking at, it drawing up. That's it in application. Okay.
I'm saying if you're going to go ahead with a 502, I would recommend going with the 802 because it has 2 microphone setups on the mix board itself. It's only like $5 more.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's right on Amazon.
I'm noticing that. This thing is very reasonably priced.
Oddly enough, non-USB mix boards are a lot cheaper, but I like having digital control that makes things a lot easier coming in and out.
Okay.
It's another screenshot of my setup. And when I have my audio recording software, what it does is it dumps the audio to these hard drives here, so I have more space to edit. Another setup of my rig. Now,
Well, that's it, the whole setup? And then there's speakers in the back? Is that what I'm saying?
that's my personal speakers, but I have the audio going through the headset and through the mixer so that everybody that's on Skype can hear the music.
Wow.
Now that the hardware is done, let's talk software. Everyone will tell you start off with Audacity. You can. It's simple, it's easy, and it's free. It runs on Windows, Linux, and Mac. So whatever the file extension is, you can go to any OS and you can work on it.
Yeah, do I have to pay for that?
Nope, it's totally free.
Really?
Yeah, Audacity is free. A lot of podcasters use that. And sometimes when you buy that mixer or sound card, it may come with its own audio editing software for podcasting as well.
Okay.
Now, I never used Audacity because at the time, when I do my podcast, I would have like multiple tracks. I would just take audio, delay in the background, music, and so forth. And at the time, Audacity had issues doing multiple tracks. I'm hearing that there's no need to do that now. It can handle multiple tracks on the fly.
Oh, okay.
And what's simple is right here, it just tells you where your audio is coming in and out, so you know what's going on.
Okay.
There is a screen here where it shows levels, right here. These levels to let you know if there's any audio that will pop here so you know everything is coming through fine. And now there you have like the big boss Audition. I've been using this since version 3. As you can see, it does have like multiple input, multiple tracks, so it makes it easier when I'm editing because what we do on our show, we have like check-ins. And what Mako does, she does like a phrase and a word, and I edit it in somewhere in the podcast. So it makes it easy for me to cut in, make a space, and just put it right at the top, and just let it drop all the way through.
Nice.
And it just makes things easier because you can see the files that are open and edits and so forth. I just find between Audacity and Audition's audio quality is sharper and a lot crisper. Now, as I said, I did touch up on Skype. It's the best way to get people conversating when doing podcasting, especially if they can't come over. And it works on any OS. The only thing is I have not been able to properly run Skype on Linux as on my laptop for guests to come in because of my current external sound card. It works on Linux, but for some reason the line in is not picked up, so it is what it is. Now, once you have your hardware set up, you have your software, you got your podcast. Where do you go from there? You gotta find a place to put it. I recommend Blogger because it's free. And the template's already there. You can design your site and put it up. You can use Blogger's FTP browser interface to upload the files or go through it in the background with FTP and just upload them that way. Now, once you have your site set up on Blogger and you start having podcasts up there, you want to get it out there. From FeedBurner will get you to iTunes. It's the easiest way to get your show on there. And from FeedBurner will manage your users, how many people are listening, the location, what software they're using, what operating system. From FeedBurner, you'll get the universal RSS feed where if somebody here is on your site and want to subscribe, they can just click on this, whatever their default catchers, like it could be iTunes or Zune or Xbox Music, it'll put it right in there. Stitcher, it's a new thing, it's radio on the fly. You can contact them, give them the RSS feed to your podcast, and it'll be listed in directory for people to listen to. And now what people are doing now, they're now adding YouTube. They're just uploading the actual audio file for you to listen to because I notice people are just, after a while, you just have YouTube in the background while you're doing other work.
Yeah, in podcasts, I know you're targeting audio. Okay. Is it correct to do audio and video?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And in the same show or that. So I'm looking at all this, okay, so I'm doing the math in my head as you're talking, but this. So I already have a couple of laptops.
Right.
Say I have a couple of decent sized Acers or some crap like that everybody has, okay? And I have a desktop.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at 3 or 4 computers, because you get it, and then I'm thinking another 200 in equipment, plus of course of a tech to hands-on application. Okay. And that was going to be my next question. Do you have any kind of a card or anything? And do you do that kind of work? Do you hire out for tech work?
We don't hire out for tech work, but we are independent bloggers.
Okay.
What we like to do, we will help other people. Right now, I am working Like my parent company is AJS Productions,
Okay.
and right now I am working with another independent podcast we call Beast Plus Stitches. I'm helping them get their website together. And just once their site is together, it's up to them to just update the podcast and everything else. If anything goes wrong, they'll just contact me and I'll just log in and fix it.
Okay. And then is it passionate? Because as you can see, I'm new at all this. My kids don't teach me anything. My kids are expert at this like you. They don't teach me anything. Like I'm the old dog outside or something. Okay, so can the show be done in advance?
Yes.
It can be done in advance and pre-recorded, sure.
Yes.
Okay, great. And that's where that editing stuff comes in?
Absolutely, because Anime Jam Session used to be a bi-monthly podcast.
Okay.
We would record on Tuesday. I would sit there, spend Wednesday, Thursday editing. Friday it'll go up on the feed.
Okay.
Once I got the mixer and condensed a lot of my work, we would record on Tuesday, and I would edit Wednesday. All I had to do was just edit like dead air and so forth, and add in the music. And Friday will go on the feed. Now that I'll get to the next section. One thing about YouTube, with one of the sites that I'm affiliated with, Orange Dodge Radio, what they're doing, they're putting their podcast online, and one of their texts, VXJCXV, when they're talking about particular video games or articles, he'll put in video to kind of get things going, give you like a visualization of the podcast. And
I like that, but you know how comedians are, you know? Somebody got to tell a joke and the language is inappropriate. Most times all the jokes inappropriate.
Well,
things like this, and then it's got to get edited down, so right about that, you're not going to go out live. Julie, advancing on what you were saying, spend a few days finding somebody to help me edit it, because I know I'll mess it up. And then putting it out there. This is fascinating. I find.
And you mentioned video. Understation Live. They're an audio podcast and they're a video podcast. Because Travis Donovan, he has a setup similar to this, but he also has a green screen in the background. So he will have like particular videos or screenshots running in the background. And if you listen to the program, if you're listening, the music is kind of repetitive, but if you're watching it, the music may be repetitive, but it's a different video every time. And what he does at the end of the show, he'll put the audio online, then he'll put the video on YouTube. Now, once you've got all this up and running, you gotta spread the word. Yes, Stitcher, YouTube, and iTunes will help you get the word out, but you need a little bit more social network. Google Plus, LiveJournal, Twitter, Facebook, and yes, even MySpace.
That's which I'm older.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the beauty of being older, because there's so much more competition for attention and time at your age.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? When you're younger, there's a whole lot more to do. When you're at my age and you're facing, retirement, a lot of people my age are already retired. They got plenty of time. They're hanging out on Facebook, they're chatting with their friends.
Yeah.
So basically, because when we do a live show, we sell out in 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we'll sell out 200 people in 5 minutes. So doing something like this, we have a built-in audience.
Right.
Because it's just all old people hanging out. Yeah. And there's less, because old people like me don't do this kind of stuff, there's less attention, there's less competition for their attention.
Right.
So it's a beautiful thing. Like you see MySpace, LiveJournal, like a lot of my friends would be on like LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Like I could put it out there, okay.
I didn't put LinkedIn because
I for old people.
I for old people, it's more professional.
Right.
Like on my LinkedIn profile, I didn't list that I did podcasting, but it was more professional, like AJS, multimedia, what I did while I was in hospital. Once I started working, and I changed that over to my current job.
Right. See, they don't know I'm a comedian, so they would be looking around.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, old people like to surf each other's pages anyway. But I find all this fascinating. I'm like, this is so unbelievable that you can do all this stuff. When I was your age, we could not envision having the capacity to do this. awesome. Come on in, Ray. It's just unbelievable. So you can get the show together, edit it, put it up, okay, and then one last question. Can you set it so that you have like the same time every week? Like you know that old people know in advance, okay, every Friday at 3 is my podcast. You can do that?
Yes, you can. Now, there's various ways of doing that. Now, what I do is, like, we're live every Tuesday at 9:30. And I try to get the podcast out by Friday, 12 noon, absolute latest. What I do around midnight, I upload the podcast, have this description set up, sent. Now, if you're reading at iTunes or whatever your reader is, it'll check on a daily basis. So if you want it up by 3 p.m., as long as it's already on your site before then, it'll be picked up. And on my website, I have a scheduler, and at 12 noon, it'll publish the new episode, the description, and a link to where you can download it. I'm currently changing it so you can like stream the episode on the fly as well.
Very nice.
And I don't look at it as competition, because I look at it more of a competition. She killed it.
Yeah. No, I don't look at it as competition. I meant like, because when we were coming up, you had like channels 3, 6, and 10, and there was a competition for the time. You know, in certain age groups, like today, that there's different things going on at different times. So you have choices. Okay, so I'm looking at, like, people my age don't have as many choices as your age. That's better word than actually use. I apologize. But yeah, because I don't like competition.
Actually,
I'm not a person that works together.
We do have choices, but at the same time we don't. Because one thing about broadcasting, you got to find a subject you want to talk about. I mean, if you want to do a geek podcast, there's so many things under that you can talk about every single episode. You can find something centric underneath that and just kind of grab from it. Like, we talk about anime, but under that we can talk about anime, what's going on in the fandom, conventions, cosplay, and some pop culture, anything that's related, that we can cover that. If we get any more specific, episodes for us will probably be a lot shorter. We probably will be able to find various topics to talk about.
We just found Attack on Titan on Netflix yesterday. I was like, oh! But you know, trying to watch it on the computer, I'm like blinded.
Yeah, I know that feeling, because my setup is, I don't even watch anime on my computer. I have it streamed to my TV so I can watch it.
Yeah, how do I do that?
There are various softwares out there that allow you to do that.
Software again?
Sorry to interrupt. Do you want me to hold the door open and see if more people come?
Sure, that'd be great.
Yeah.
All right.
That's what I need to do, because I got a nice big TV at home here that can really, laptops, when you're watching it, you know, I walk away, I'm blind at 20 minutes, you know.
Like, even some of the programs, like, I believe, like Crunchyroll or Neon Alley, you know, they do have apps on Xbox Live and PlayStation Network that allow you to stream it and watch it on the TV, on the big screen. Hulu, Netflix.
Blu-ray
players too.
Yep.
Yeah,
the newer Blu-ray players, newer televisions that have these apps that allow you to do it.
You know, when I was your age, a computer was the size of that television. This big giant box thing, like that. That was your computer. And it wasn't a computer, it was a data processor.
When I was yay big, my first computer was about the size of this book bag, and it hooked up to the back of the TV, and it came with a 150-page book on BASIC. That's how I got started.
I didn't even get started. My kids in my house would show me, like, you know, AOL, stuff like this. And I was the one that always worked.
Yeah.
While they were having fun and playing on eBay and anime and all this other stuff. So we've been coming to conventions for years now. So I saw this is probably the first panel that I'm like, yeah, I'm excited about, you know. Because normally it's just things that I've already seen, you know, open panel. We're used to it, we're in she's doing one down her book. And I've seen most of them. So, but this is very interesting that you can actually do this. And your podcast is on when?
As I say, and I've heard it.
Your site and watch
As I said, we are live 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Encore presentations Thursdays at 1 on the VOG Network. And
So where
episodes,
would I go to watch one of your shows? And
you just go right to that website. And all the information is right there. There's a link called VOG Network. You click on that and it'll tell you how to get into the chat room and participate with others. It'll have our times listed and everything.
This is great. This is great. Because we've been everywhere. We've been all over the United States. And so now her idea would be to come in and just truck around and with her friends on different social networking. Mine is I get on the radio. You have never lived. So you're in a building with 100,000 people dressed as cartoon characters. And then there's a bomb scare. Okay, and then like the whole story getting 100,000 people dressed as, Japanese flag.
Sounds like Kotoricon 3 years ago.
This was actually Anime Expo 2 years ago. But I heard about it with Tom. We were there last year, but we weren't there 3 years ago. But I heard about that.
Yeah, there was a fire at BCC. Evidently, there was a grease fire down in the dealer's room because they have like a section open for like food and stuff like that. So.
We were there last year. I didn't go in. I took one look at the line, and I'm too old to do it lines. I was like, you're good. I'll see you later. I went down to the harbor, had myself a little good time at the bar.
There was a time where I would stand out there for pre-reg for hours upon hours in my costumes. I'm like, I'm getting too old for this. I'll come after work when it's cool, go inside, pick up my badge, meet up with my friends, we'll go to the harbor, then we'll drink and have a good time. Because for the next 3 days, we're not going to see each other.
That's me. We came last night. We drove all the way last night to get our badges because I said, you know what? I'm not standing in no line. We stood at Anime Expo in LA. We stood out in the LA sun for 6.5 hours.
I'm not surprised.
I was ready to faint.
There are people who will get out who will be up as early as 5 a.m.
Everybody's lined up in, they're texting their friends, they know where I'm like, you know where? I'm going to whip somebody's butt. The next person, you can jump behind me, but you're not jumping in front of me.
Exactly.
Okay, and then I actually went to the closing ceremony. They had that popcorn, and I got up and told them, you need to see me, sister. All right, case closed. I'm too old for half this nonsense. I don't need to sit in front row. I don't need to be a big star, but I can't stand in line anymore. I can't.
Well, they do have, a lot of times will have like that plus badge. If you can't stand for medical reasons, they'll give you access to elevators or
They have the medical, because we got that one year, they did give me that, but the medical, you're still standing in line. It's the opposite of what we actually want. Because you're still standing in line, but when you get in, they put you in the front. I'm like, hello? Like, I don't care where I'm sitting. It was the line I didn't want to be in.
Right.
You know, they got it backwards. But all in all, I found them all, other than having to stand in line, which makes me crazy, and I can't do it anymore. I found it a very good experience.
Now that you have your hardware, your software, have a seat. Welcome to Podcasting 101. Once you have the hardware, the software, you've got everything together. You've got the networking. You got it out there. Want a bonus? Website affiliations. Like, we are affiliated with the VOG Network, which is the Voice of Geeks Network. Another station is All Games, where one of the shows that brought me in was Orange Lounge Radio. They were part of All Games. We were part of Disingenuous Radio for a while. We left them because there were various issues with getting onto the stream, and it was like no one was really. It was just like being dilapidated. So when I got the call to join VOG, I jumped right on.
So these are just more outlets?
Yeah, these are people. Yeah, these are sites like where they will play your podcast. They will do that. Nowadays, back in the day, it was like when a TV show came on, the networks would fight to get to put you in the primary slot, and after X amount of episodes, it would go into syndication. We're past that. This is just pure syndication.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm syndicated on my own site. I'm syndicated on VOG. I'm syndicated on Stitcher, Blueberry. I'm syndicated through iTunes, Xbox. It's like, it's not hard to get a hold of listeners.
Wow.
And Q&A, interesting stories from the mixed board. One of my favorite stories to tell is when we went live for the very first time. When they announced us to be part of VOG Network, I said, I need time for us to kind of get things together because they do things on a weekly basis, and we did things on a semi-weekly basis. So 6 episodes in, we got it. We're weekly. We're ready to go live. I start playing the pre-show. Now we're doing it through Winamp and the Shoutcast streaming program. I start going through it. Shoutcast crashes.
Oh, no.
Comes to find out that when it comes to playing music in ID3 tags, if it's not English or Romanji, it can't handle it and it will crash right out.
Wow.
So we broke the stream 3 to 4 times that night.
That was wild.
Yes, it was fun. Another time is one of our Midwest staffers, Koi, she came on to talk about Denver Comic Con. Now, let's see if I can go back. One thing about audition, I keep an eye on the meters and the tracks to make sure it's recording.
So you're hosting and teching?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I noticed that it wasn't going off. I'm like, what's going on here? And I noticed the hard drive that my setup is on, it's not blinking. Evidently, the running joke is that Koi broke the podcast. What happened was the power adapter that the podcast was going to broke. I had to get that replaced. So now when I'm recording, I make sure this is up. I make sure every 5, 10, 15 minutes, I'm making sure this is recording, the lights are going on, and everything is on the up and up. One thing is, when we podcast, come on in. When we podcast, we end up going off the rails or derailing. Yes, we have like an outline of what we discussed, but depending on how we bring up the conversation, we'll just get derailed and usually ends up talking about wrestling for 10 to 15 minutes and she gets
So she likes to keep it on track. And
she's more or less the straight man when need be.
That's how my girl is. My girl is like, if she's giving a presentation and I ask a question, it's like, dang, don't you care? I gotta stay on track. And I'm like, oh, okay. I find this fascinating. So I could actually produce my own show, audio and video. So I have some great ideas for taking it out of the audio realm and doing both.
Yeah, this was the hard drive that started to fail on me, so it's actually working fine. The power brick is actually sitting behind the hard drive and not hanging on the floor.
Yes, yeah, I need somebody to use it for talking there. I'll be emailing you.
I mean, even when I do my background music, even with the mixer here, I can actually control it from here, but it's a lot easier for me here because I don't like to mess with the settings on here unless I have to. I mean, if something is too loud or too soft, I will go in and I'll go in and just like edit it in the video, in the audio editing software, make it the proper volume. I mean, it's fun. I really enjoy doing it. And I said, when I wake up one day and say, it ain't fun anymore, we're going to wrap it up and do the final episode.
Now, let me ask you something.
Sure.
Do you have like sponsors or anything where you can make money out of this? You just have it
None
covered
whatsoever. Closest thing for sponsoring Travis' Understation Live is, I think some of his podcasts are monetized, but he has to be careful because some of the background music is copyrighted.
Right,
So.
for sure.
See, I'm under the radar because all of my background music is Japanese music, anime, K-pop, stuff like that. So I can get away with it because when OLR and Understation, when they put their podcast out, they take the music out, so you have to listen live to that. I leave it in because we kind of fly under the radar. When they tell us we got to take the music out, then I'll just take the music out when we do the final edits.
Could I just pay the fee or the broadcasters? Is it a higher fee for computer use?
Well,
my sister's on a dancer.
yeah.
They do recitals, they do week shows, so they pay like a flat $350 a year to use anything in the broadcaster's house. advanced school. Like I was wondering if there was a different fee, because I'm thinking a computer used to
It
make
might
me higher.
be, that's one
Yeah,
of
when you start going and broadcasting on the net, you're basically picking radio stations. So
Right.
you have to basically get whatever the radio stations are allowed to.
Right.
So whatever they're dealing with all of that, that's what you would have to get for a podcast. It's basically the same.
Yeah.
It's still gonna be going out to whoever happens to be
Sure.
listening to the.
Sure, that's what I'm thinking, because you're not sitting in a room with other people, you're putting it out there, and it's in perpetuity. You know, a kids were saying, they're watching it once and then that's it. If it's something like this, anybody can watch any time for till time ends. So I'm sure, I think they're going to probably a way higher fee. So I might just have to whistle Dixie till I get that money.
But when it comes to like audio in general, we haven't been flagged or anything. No one's contacted us. Now, once you start getting on the YouTube, so putting your podcast on there, then you'll get the notifications, and then you can tell them, I have permission already. Here's proof of my permission, and then boom. Like I go to cons, I record convention masquerades and panels. Some of my convention masquerade videos are actually blocked in various countries due to the background music, and I'm like, yeah. So yeah,
I can understand that. I know I don't agree with it, but I can see it happening.
it's all about the copyright. That's what it is. It's like you don't have permission for this song, and I'm like, this was played part of their skit. This falls under fair use, so it's okay.
Right.
Sometimes they'll say it's fine. Sometimes they're like, nope. And what can you do?
Basically,
Pretty much.
Yeah. Plus, I'm talking about how much money you're making. It's a money-making thing.
And
You're gonna
that's
do it
what-
right in there with their hand out.
I mean, some of the videos are monetized. I figure if I can make money off the videos, I can put it towards the website, help us go to conventions, but you have to get a lot of hits to make a decent amount of money. So I just turned the monetization off because it's like, it's just no point in doing that.
I used to, every night club, we had a little jukebox in the corner, and the DJ played. Okay, every now and then we had a band, and we had a little jukebox for the daytime. They charged me $200 a year. There's working for the jukebox. They got a jukebox, yes they did. Friday to pay it? Oh yeah, you was on the mob was showing up, coming down to confiscate my jukebox. Oh yeah, they're right there. And then they send, you know how like they have the wrestling and all that stuff, the fights on TV, that you buy the package, yeah. They have a separate package for bars and all, you know how
Right.
sometimes a bar will advertise the price?
Yes.
But we used to get the black box and bootleg it, you know, hijack it, and they would come in and send undercover and watch and see who's got the fights on. Then you got a letter, you gotta pay that $20,000, because they would charge you per seat for every single bar store and every single chair in the club. They would charge you what they would charge like a house. So then you had to get on the phone and negotiate with the lawyers, and listen, we had 10 people in here, a bunch of us were betting on the fight. Call it a day, I'll give you $1,000, $1,200, and you go back and forth for an hour, and then it's over. But yeah, they do not play around. I know that, that's why I was asking up front, like, what I needed, because they didn't play, and I'm talking about in the 80s, they weren't playing. That's when we had the club in the 80s. So you can imagine how much more technologically advanced it is now, where they can just activate a computer or something and see what's going on in there. But I find all this fascinating. I think it's absolutely great that you can go in there, produce your own show, and not worry about anybody's headache.
Exactly.
You don't have any kind of censorship. You don't have any kind of BS. You can just do what you want. And I find this fascinating.
So Kotoricon myself as Cecil, and we started a podcast.
I really,
And
Welcome to Night Vale.
yeah. And I think it's cool.
I watch that.
So pretty much just this podcasting 101. I'm just explaining how to start your own podcast, what equipment and software you need. So if you have any questions, you can go back through the slides here and I can show you what you need to know.
Absolutely awesome.
I was just wondering what software you use, or
Oh, sure.
any of it's like free, because in
Well, if you know where to look, Audition is free. But if you want to play it straight, Audacity. I just prefer Audition for multiple tracks. From my understanding, Audacity can handle multiple track editing, and nowadays, YouTube instructional videos will show you how to do it. It's like I said, as long as these four here sees your sound card, and if you're talking in the microphone and the levers are going off, when you record, it'll pick everything up. And the best part of Audacity is Windows, Linux, and Mac compatible right across the board. So you can go from one operating system environment to another and just finish your edits and get it out.
Thank you, Sarah, for us. Okay. Thank you very, very
No
much.
problem.
It was a real pleasure.
Pleasure.
Thank you. You'll be hearing from me.
Okay, cool.
Especially if you hear someone with the computer down.
Mhm.
Help! I
Why
know
did you
that.
guys start doing that?
Starting this week?
Yeah.
Okay. Friend of mine sent me a message, do you like DVR? Yeah. So she sent me a link to the show called Orange Lounge Radio. And for years they talked about DVR and viewing games, but as that kind of declined, they started talking more about regular video games and so forth. And I would listen to them on the regular. They started what was called the To-Go edition, which was a compressed 1 hour version of the show, which was a podcast. And I listened, and I took notes, and I'm very close friends with the staff. I went out there and hung out with them for a weekend. I was on an episode, and we had fun times. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to give this a shot. So I started doing this in around 2005, 2006. I would do random episodes, and then I started getting a staff together, and we started doing it. We started going from like periodically to 2 episodes a month, and now we're doing it every week.
It doesn't have to be something where you just go out there and start doing, all right, you have to do it every week, you have to do it every day, or you have to do it this way. Just go out there and have fun.
Eventually, if you start podcasting, you'll see from your first episode to your current one, how you change, how you run it. Now, we do things on a strict schedule because we're live on the Blog Network on Tuesday nights. Before that, I made sure that we were all at the computer between 9 and 9:30, and we would just run with it for about a couple of hours. And then on Wednesdays, I would just go in, edit, and just get it out for syndication on Friday. I like to keep things on a bit of a schedule, but you can make it work for you because honestly, everybody has iTunes, everyone has Xbox Music or TuneIn Radio. They'll download and listen on their convenience.
And then, I mean, there's all different kinds of setups you can do. The best thing to do is to listen to a bunch of different shows, just like one of each show, and listen to how everybody's doing it. Because everybody does it differently. And find what you want to do.
And you can podcast about anything. Just don't limit yourself, right? On our band, we can talk about anime, manga, conventions, cosplay, pop culture, everything that falls underneath that. If you get very specific, sometimes it can be a little bit hard to find something to talk about every week on a regular basis.
Yeah, like we've just started going into Japanese news, just to get a little bit more out there because it still falls under the whole cultural aspect of anime. But yeah, if you go really, really tight with what you want to do, it's really, really hard to say, all right, well, I've got another show in a week. What am I going to talk about there? I've got another show. I've got a show tomorrow, and I've got nothing to talk about.
It's one of the reasons why OLR, they still talk about DDM and Lamani, but not as much. That's why they went toward talking about video games in general.
And then like one of our other shows, Courthouse, it was strictly just talking about WoW. And then now we're talking about the whole range of online MMOs instead of just that little one niche that they were talking about.
He just canceled his WoW subscription.
Yeah.
So now he's playing FF14 now.
So I mean, you don't narrow it down right when you start off, unless you can narrow it down right when you start off, but you're going to see when you start going into it, you're going to have to, you're going to have to start branching out.
Because at some point you're gonna get through all the things you're talking about, unless you go to like Discord or something.
Yeah, I mean, if you're doing like we want to do something for sale, it's like obviously that's not going to be something that's going to be manga, it's an anime, it's a live action show, and it's musicals. There's not really a lot that you can talk about forever on that.
Because, as you know, they said the new anime is coming out July 2014. This gives me another 6 months to get my site together, because I'm going to start a separate podcast just for the new series. And when that's done, we'll probably do a few more podcasts, like wrap-ups and what we think, and then that's it. And it'll just be
Which is another great thing for podcasts, because you don't have to continue it. You can, it's like, let's say you want to just talk about one specific anime, and you can take like one podcast and do one episode a day. It's like, all right, well, it's 52 episodes. There you go. You've got a year of podcasting.
Now, anyone here watch Gravity Falls? Yeah.
I've heard of it.
It's a great cartoon.
It's Disney or Nick-
Disney.
Disney.
There is a podcast called the Gravity Falls Gospel. Now, if you know, Gravity Falls is in repeats right now to new episodes. They do episodes every week. They just talk about comics and the fandom and stuff like that. What you can do, because that you can get away with. Like I said, this is my setup. Like this is my main mixer right here, and this is my sub mixer. I have Winamp pushing the music through here, and I have like my volume control, and that from there goes my first input. My second input is my second laptop for Skype. That's when people want to call in and talk about the show. That's like your advanced mode. Once you're kind of out there, you want live feedback, create a secondary Skype account, put it on a second computer, and then you can run the cables to it. And that one right there, let's see, and that's what that goes out to. And that was my first mixer, and this is the current one that I have right now that I run over. Now, like I said, you have to probably if you run it over a desktop. If it's if it's fairly new within the last few years, you've probably seen Realtek in your settings. If you go in your sound settings and do this, you can open it up and be able to do your podcasting, because as long as, if it's a sound blaster, it's what you hear. If it's on board, it's stereo mix. Because as long as it can hear everybody talking, Audacity or Audition will pick up everything and record it for you. If you don't want to go through that entire mess, you can always go with an external sound card and plug that in. I recommend this because this has 2 microphone inputs. So if you have somebody else at your house hanging out and you have an extra mic, you can work with it. With my setup, when Mako comes over, this mixer here has a microphone input, so we run off of that. I have to kind of especially jury rig it so that she can hear the music in the background, so we know when we come back from break. Like I said, podcasting, it's fun. It can be something, you can do something very simple, or you can just go advanced as like having video in the background, doing a video podcast, putting it on YouTube, the whole 9 yards.
Have you ever seen the Ricky Gervais show?
Bits and pieces of it.
That's what, like, they kind of do a podcast, and then they like do the cartoon over it,
Oh, okay.
and they put the cartoon to the audio,
Oh, that's cool.
and it's RTV. They sit down and it's the 3 of them having a conversation, and that's what it is.
Or if you can, Understation Live, which is Saturdays on Bob, you can listen, but you have more experience if you watch, because what Travis does, he'll play, the music gets repetitive on audio, but when it's video, he has different Doctor Who, Firefly, and Avengers videos and stuff. The music is the same, but it's just a different type of video. And when he's sitting there just talking, he'll have a green screen, he'll have different things going on in the background, which is pretty cool. So I think we have like 5 minutes. So do you have any other questions, perhaps, ideas? I will be putting this on our website at animejamsession.com. It won't go up right away, so I'm going to go in and make some edits to the presentation as a PDF format, so anybody can just download and figure it out from there. Here, it's like I said, podcasting is fun, but when you feel it's up to that point where you know what, you said what you can say, you want to kind of let it ride, you can just say, final episode, we're done, we've had our fun, and that's it. And the best part is, as long as you're syndicated on iTunes or whatever, the podcast is still here. I'm probably going to pull, like, we're up to 146 episodes. I'm probably going to pull, like, the first 100 and put it on a separate feed, because first season was me and Kuro Usagi, and then the second season was when I brought in Mako and Ari. We used to have, like, up to 5 people talking, and now that we're on VOG, that's like, and we're live, that's season 3, and we're just flying from there. And that's it. Didn't even need to use my notes. Candy, anyone?
Candy, Tony,
Booty.
Tony,
Yes.
Tony,
Thank
my little
you.
kitty, my little kitty.
What is wrong with you?
Candy?
Nerd or candy?
Candy. Always go with candy.
And then here, come grab candy.